What's up? This is Insomniac Chronicles with the real ISO, Volume 2. Alright, it's Insomniac Chronicles, so obviously I'm having trouble sleeping, so I guess I'll blow off some steam. It's like, like sleep is something that you do. You sleep well when you have a clear mind and high natural energy. When your energy is basically constantly derived from adrenaline, because adrenaline is like your backup energy reserves, you have a hard time sleeping. So when you're in the state of like any kind of stress or anything like that, you're gonna have a hard time sleeping. Now, what I've learned, and this is just me, it's not scientifically proven, kind of like not so much interaction, but like sharing will kind of like stabilize your mood a little bit. It's like helping somebody out. You start to feel better and all that. And all these things are connected. There's a lot about the brain. There's a lot about brain chemistry that we don't understand, because a lot of this stuff has been kind of like it's been purposely misinterpreted to mislead people. And one of the things that will really cause you to be depressed is if you lack understanding of what's going on. Because if you don't understand what's going on, it's kind of hard to like maneuver around it and, trying to like alleviate, the environmental stress that you may be perceiving, But, we got to remember that everything we feel is based on our perception of reality. And the thing is, nobody lives in reality. We all just live in a perception of reality because we don't really know what's really going on all the time. So anyway, I read this article by Dr. Ray Peat. It's on serotonin. Now, serotonin they say it's a neurotransmitter, but it's primarily produced in your gut, in your stomach. And what it does is I would describe it as a satiety hormone, I say a calming. It produces not even a calming effect, but a numbing effect, right? So it's like when you get disappointed with something, right? Or you go through a breakup or whatnot, you're kind of really your dopamine levels are dropping, right? And as your dopamine levels are dropping, your serotonin is rising. So because you gotta think about it, right? When your dopamine is low, your body has a natural way of trying to produce it so it can make you feel better. So if you look at people with Parkinson's, right? They have a dopamine deficiency in the brain. And what do? They tremor, right? They're tremoring. So movement is what produces dopamine in your body. So it's like when you're not feeling good, like when you're disturbed or you're hurt or something like that, you have a tendency to be jittery. And that's like that anxiety rising. And you're jittery because it's a natural way of trying to produce dopamine. But the thing is, it's like that serotonin is rising so high, it's like you become numb, and that's what it does. It numbs you to your environment, so you won't feel the full effects of what you perceive to be going on. So that's what serotonin is. So, it's a very hot topic when it comes to, antidepressants and, these people that are, running up in places and shooting up places or anything like that. But, you know, when you also have high serotonin, it says, so you up all night because you off for the summer. I'm never off for the summer. But thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. But anyway, yeah, so when you're constantly looking for that dopamine hit, right? And your serotonin is high. Why would your serotonin be high? Because you're trying to numb yourself, right? But that can also lead to severe depression. And what is depression? Depression is just a feeling of hopelessness. You know, so that's why when you're, and you know, it makes me understand people more, because a lot of people are depressed and a lot of people do things to cope. You know, it's like you see somebody going here, you see somebody going there, and you know, then you see people just self-medicating because they're trying to cope with this feeling that they have, right? But anyway, so I'm gonna get into this article. Like I said, Dr. Ray Peat, man, he was a beast. You know, rest in peace to him. He died earlier this year. But I'm telling you, man, that man was a true scientist. All right, so it's called, it's an article. It's called Serotonin, Depression, and Aggression, the Problem of Brain Energy. All right, so extreme serious mistakes about the nature of the solar system didn't matter too much until interplanetary travel became a possibility. Now, there are some people that believe that we cannot leave the Earth's atmosphere, but I really don't care about that. That has no bearing on my life. Extremely serious mistakes about brain transmitters and receptors didn't matter too much until the drug industry got involved. Okay, 3 years before Prozac received approval by the Food and Drug Administration in late 1987, the German BGA, that country's FDA equivalent, had serious reservations about Prozac's safety, that it refused to approve an antidepressant based on Eli Lilly's studies showing that previous non-suicidal patients, okay, I'm going to read that again. Previous non-suicidal patients who took the drug, who took what drug? It's Prozac. What is Prozac? Prozac is, don't quote me on this, but I think it's a serotonin reuptake inhibitor. So it increases the concentration of serotonin in the synapse. But when they took Prozac, it said they had a 5-fold higher rate of suicides and suicide attempts by, than those of other older antidepressants, and a threefold higher rate of those taking the placebos. All right, so placebo is just like a sugar pill. So they're saying that the suicide rate increased 5-fold. That's crazy. All right, using figures on Prozac for both Lilly and independent research. However, Dr. Healy, an expert on the brain serotonin system and director of North Wales Department of Psychological Medicine at the University of Wales, estimated that 50,000 people have committed suicide on Prozac since its launch, over and above the number who have done so if left treated. That's crazy. All right, so it says 50,000 people have committed suicide on Prozac since its launch, over and above the number who have done so if left untreated. That is nuts. All right. Anyone who has been reading the mass media and watching television in recent decades is familiar with the use of tryptophan. Okay, so tryptophan is an amino acid. Okay, so it says, if you've been watching TV or keeping up with media, you're familiar with the use of tryptophan as an antidepressant. Tryptophan is easily converted to serotonin and melatonin in the body. Okay, so tryptophan is the precursor for serotonin and melatonin. All right, now see, that's important because turkey has high concentrations of tryptophan, right? So during Thanksgiving, people eat the turkey, and what happens? They start falling asleep, right? See, I'm telling you, like, that's my gift, like, to connect things together. I'm not smart. My brain is always trying to connect patterns and all that. But It said tryptophan is easily converted to melatonin and serotonin in the body. The most popular kind of antidepressant, the serotonin reuptake inhibitor, the SSRI, is said to act by increasing the action of serotonin in the brain. All right. Many people have read articles in Popular Science magazine explaining that a deficiency of serotonin can cause depression. All right, I'm gonna read that again. Many people have read articles in Popular Science magazines explaining that a deficiency of serotonin can cause depression, suicide, and aggression. All right. So now, did you get that? It says many people have read articles in Popular Science magazine. All right. So, you know, that's my issue with popular science, right? In 2020, it was filled with popular science propaganda. You know, it's like, what is popular science? People say, well, everybody knows that if you go around somebody that's sick, you're gonna get sick. Well, that's pseudoscience. You know, you have no kind of basis for making that conclusion. Because, for instance, I'm around sick people all the time and I don't get sick. Anyway, all right, so estrogen is often said to achieve its wonderful effects by increasing the effects of serotonin. All right, so it had wonderful in quotation. All right, so remember the last live, if you go back and look at the last two lives that I did, it was on pregnancy, infertility, and estrogen. Estrogen is an infertility hormone. I'll repeat, estrogen is an infertility hormone. Progesterone is the fertility hormone. And it has similar effects in men and women. All right, so estrogen is often said to achieve its wonderful effects by increasing the effects of serotonin. So estrogen increases the effects of serotonin. Okay, you're smart. I'm not smart, Aricia. Like, chill out. It said we're all brilliant in our own lane. I agree with you on that one. It said reserpine is an ancient tranquilizer derived from a plant used in India for centuries. It has powerful tranquilizing action, and it has been used to treat hypertension, that's high blood pressure, and was found to be an antidepressant. It lowers the concentration of serotonin in the brain and other tissues. It says isoniazid, an antidepressant that came into use in the 1950s, is effective, but it probably has no effect on serotonin. When those drugs were popular, serotonin wasn't recognized as a neurotransmitter. It wasn't until the 1960s that our present set of doctrines regarding serotonin's effect on mood and behavior came into being. Serotonin research is relatively new, but it rivals. All right, see, this is Dr. Pete in his humor. It said it rivals estrogen research for the level of incompetence and apparently fraudulent intent that can be found in professional publications. This is partly because of the involvement of the drug company. All right. But the U.S. government also played a role in setting the pattern of confused and perverse interpretation of serotonin physiology by its policy denigrating and incriminating LSD. All right, so LSD was the drug that, you know, that it starts tripping you out and whatnot. All right. It says, all right, so LSD is a powerful serotonin antagonist. So what an antagonist is in the body, an antagonist stops something from exerting its actions, right? So LSD is an antagonist for serotonin. All right, it says it's a powerful antagonist by any means possible. For example, claiming that it causes genetic damage and provokes homicidal or suicidal behavior. The issue of genetic damage was already disproved in 1960. All right, so this was like during Woodstock and all that stuff, but this was never publicly acknowledged by the National Institutes of Mental Health or other government agency. The government's irresponsible actions helped to create the drug culture in which health warnings about drugs were widely disregarded because the government had been caught in a blatant fraud. just like it was caught in the fraud in 2020. Well, it wasn't until like 2022 that the fraud started. It was acceptable to accept that there was fraud, because the whole time I was calling it a scandemic or a plandemic. You know, it was all a scam. And I mean, it's so sad and just despicable how these people just ruin people's lives and whatnot. And that's the thing, you know, something I try to tell people. The ideas that you accept to be true will shape your reality. Okay? That's why it's so important not to go around with a negative disposition. Because if you have a negative disposition, that means your reality is just going to be overall negative. So, you know, it's like a chicken or the egg effect. But whatever it is, if you notice that you're negative, you really need to work hard in shifting your perception and your disposition to something that's positive. Right? That's why I like in the Bible, you know, it says whatever things are true, lovely, of good report, think on those things. You know, don't go around thinking about negativity all day. It's off-putting. It makes your situation worse, because nobody wants to be around a negative person all damn day. You know, people like to be around go-getters. People like to be around winners. People like to be around people that pour positivity into them. You know? And if you don't, you really need to change. All right. So, in more recent years, government warnings about tryptophan supplements have been widely dismissed because the government has so often lied. Oh man. Even when public health agencies try to do something right, they fail because they have done so much wrong. In animal studies, LSD and other anti-serotonin agents, look at this, increased playfulness and accelerate learning. I'm gonna read that again. In animal studies, LSD and other anti-serotonin agents increase playfulness and accelerated learning. Right? When you're depressed, think about all these kids in I don't know how to say your name. I think it's Love Kaza. You're a teacher, right? So you look at all these students that are walking around depressed. It's hard as hell to impart knowledge on them. You know, you can see that in real time. You know, people when you're depressed, it's hard to learn anything. All right, it says so anti-serotonin agents increase playfulness, accelerate learning, and cause behavioral impairment only in very high doses, right? It doesn't say high doses, it says very high doses. While reserpine was used medically for several decades, it was eventually found to have harmful side effects. Medical research in LSD was stopped before its actual side effects could be discovered. The misreputations about LSD, a powerful anti-serotonin agent, allowed a set of cultural stereotypes about serotonin to be established. Misconceptions about serotonin, melatonin, and tryptophan, which are metabolically interrelated, have persisted. And it seems that the drug industry has exploited these mistakes to promote the new generation of psychoactive drugs as activators of serotonin responses. If LSD makes people go berserk, as the government claimed, then a product to amplify these effects of serotonin should make people sane, right? So, man, you really got to know the score with these things. All right. Let me see. I'm not going to read all this fancy science stuff, but I'm just reading the commentary. All right, look at serotonin and our friend estrogen. Estrogen again. Serotonin and estrogen have many systematically interrelated functions. All right, I'm going to read that again. Serotonin and estrogen have many systematically interrelated functions, and women are much more likely to suffer from depression than men. Okay, you got to draw that correlation. And having worked in a pharmacy for 8 years, I saw way more women on antidepressants than men. Okay. And, with this statement that estrogen and serotonin are related, it makes sense. Okay. But, we still have to have compassion on people because, you got a lot of people saying women are always depressed. Well, nobody's always anything, but, you got to draw, you have to look at where the trends are going. And like with me, when I see a trend, my first thought is like, okay, why is this trend there? What's going on with this trend? Or, what is going on with this set of the population to make them behave in this manner or to exhibit the certain phenotype that they're exhibiting. Serotonin and histamine. Histamine is your allergy chemicals. When you have an allergic reaction, you have a lot of histamines that go in your bloodstream. And what histamines do is histamines will dilate your blood vessels. So in turn, an antihistamine will stop that allergic expression. All right. So serotonin and histamine are increased by estrogen. I'll read that again. Serotonin and histamine are increased by estrogen, and their activation mimics the effects of estrogen. Okay. Serotonin is closely involved in mood disorders, but also in great variety in other problems that affect women much more frequently than men. These are probably primarily energy disorders relating to cellular respiration and thyroid function, liver disease and brain disease, Alzheimer's, and Alzheimer's are both much more common in women than in men. And serotonin and estrogen strongly affect the energetic processes in these organs. Liver disease can increase the brain's exposure to serotonin, ammonia, and histamine. It isn't just a coincidence that these three amines occur together and are neurotoxic. Okay, I'm gonna skip down. All right, so remember earlier, what's going on? All right, so earlier I talked about Parkinson's, right? So Parkinson's is when you have tremors, right? And the tremors are there because your body is trying to produce movement, and movement produces dopamine, right? This is why it's so important for anybody, especially like children. Children have recess. So when we grow up, we tend to not, have movement and have fun and all that stuff. We tend to not be moving around anymore, right? It's important to always move around. It's like tonight. Tonight was adult night at the skating rink, and I usually go, and it's a good time, and it's I didn't get to go today because I just had a lot going on. But anyway, in Parkinson's disease, the benefits seen from increasing the concentration of dopamine can result from listen to this, dopamine's antagonism to serotonin. Welcome. Oh, what's up? What's happening? All right. Anti-serotonin drugs can alleviate the symptoms by it says anti-serotonin drugs can alleviate the symptoms, and 5-hydroxytryptophan can worsen the symptoms. So 5-hydroxytryptophan is a serotonin mimic. Okay. So basically, it's telling you that all these, serotonin, these increases in serotonin are not good for your mood. Check this out. In hibernating animals, the stress of a declining food supply causes increased serotonin production. In humans and animals that don't hibernate, the stress of winter causes very similar changes. Serotonin lowers temperature by decreasing the metabolic rate. People really need to think twice about taking these SSRI drugs, because it's really ruining people's lives. It says so pole dancing is helping my dopamine. Hey, it may not, I don't know. I'm not you. So, if you have fun pole dancing, then, maybe it's helping your dopamine. Who knows? Only you know. All right. Tryptophan and melatonin are also hypothermic. In winter, more thyroid is needed to maintain a normal rate of metabolism. And see, that's the crazy thing, because in wintertime, we eat foods that block our thyroid function. Increased serotonin interferes with the consolidation of learning. All right, so I'm not going to read all of this, but basically, serotonin, just to summarize everything, serotonin numbs you. It's a numbing chemical. And you got to think about it. When people are severely depressed, what do? They lay around all day in the bed, and it's a sensation they feel where they can't get up. And it's funny because, what happens, like when you go through a breakup, right? Or when you go through some kind of relationship issues, notice that you have a knot in your gut, right? You got like this feeling in your gut, and it's like, oh man, I don't feel like eating, or you don't feel like doing anything, but then it's like you're so jittery and all that stuff like that. That's that adrenaline, that serotonin, like just surging in your body, trying to figure out, what to, try to keep you alive, So it's like you got the serotonin be like, okay, we're stressed, like, but we got to function, so we don't need to feel this stress. And then you have this adrenaline, all this cortisol in your body is like, okay, man, like we're, got to stress the situation. We got to make moves. We got to do something. Like, do something. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? We got to feel good. We got to feel, all that stuff like that. So that's basically what's going on in your body, when you're going through things. So you don't have to be a scientist to not suffer the effects of these things. Basically, one thing that I did in my life is there was a point in time where I just said no to negative people. I had to get away from people that weren't good for me. Now, that's the easy part. The hard part is finding people that are positive. That is the hard part. Because, it's like you never know somebody's intent when you're dealing with them until they expose it, until you know it. So, that's like with me. I try to be like upfront with my intentions with anything, so it's like, people, I'll vocalize it, and, my actions have to match it, so there won't be any confusion, because people send mixed signals all the time, and, that can cause embarrassment, a feeling of, like people be like, damn, like I feel like a fool, and that can lead to depression. So I don't want to be the reason why anybody's out here just sad or anything like that. This life is too short. We got to spend our time pouring ourselves into things that matter. We want to get into the spiritual aspect of things. It's important to know what God's will is for your life. Because, in the Psalms it says, happy is the man that trusts in God, because, this life we live, everything we see, a lot of things just smoke and mirrors. And, in this information age, we have all this knowledge, all these facts that are coming to us that we don't understand. So it's important to simplify your life, right? If things are not helping you, they're harming you. I mean, there's really no in between. So, you really have to do your due diligence to analyze, your, what you give your energy to, and, how things affect you. It's important to pay attention to yourself and to your environment. If you pay attention to yourself and your environment, you'll probably stay out of the doctor, because, it's like if you notice that after you were in, that you were, if you notice that after the aftermath of you being exposed to a certain stimuli, you feel a certain way, then what are you going to do next time, you get around that stimuli? You're going to get away, right? Anyway, so that's pretty much it. Anybody got any questions? Hopefully I'll be able to go to sleep now. Any questions? I hope everybody had a good 4th of July. I went home. I'm glad I'm back though. Anybody got any questions? Going once, going twice, going thrice. Okay, so I'm gonna take silence as understanding, but I appreciate everybody that watched me blow off this steam, and I appreciate everybody that interacted with me. Any water filter suggestions? Shit, don't drink tap water. Somebody told me one time that the Berkey water filters are really good. Since inflation and all that stuff, they went up. But I think that good water is a very good investment because allegedly we're 90% water. It's funny because, that study where, the man, he was playing negative music to ice crystals and the ice crystals were all distorted. And then he was playing like positive music to the ice crystals. And then they were all like, arranged in a beautiful order and pattern and all this stuff like that. So we're supposed to be 90% water and get, all this negativity, all this negative energy and frequencies that we expose ourselves to. And we think it has no effect on us. Like, nah, we're kidding ourselves. But there are pharma things in the water that affect mood. Well, so here's the thing. All right. There are pharma things in the water, but your body has natural detoxifying mechanisms. You have a system called your P450 enzymes, right? And so what these things do is they will make these compounds, these toxic compounds that we ingest, they'll make it more water soluble. And the reason why it's important that they're more water soluble is so you can just piss them out. But then you're putting them back into the water supply. So it's crazy, right? But now, you can get charcoal. Charcoal is an excellent filter. I don't know the mechanisms, but I've seen it in action. So charcoal is an excellent water filter. But for you ladies, if y'all are planning on having children, like y'all really need to pay attention to what y'all intake, physically and mentally, because everything we do affects us. That's just what it is. And it's funny because for men, men have more protective hormones, as far as like testosterone and stuff like that. I don't understand it yet because I haven't really sat and thought about it and analyzed all the observations and the facts. But it's like you could tell a lot about a society by the state of their women. If their women are going crazy and have high infertility rates, then the society's not really doing good. And when the society's not doing good, you gotta look at the men. What are the men doing? Because it's a not synergistic, but it's like a mutualistic interaction between men and women. It's kind of like that old saying that a woman wants to be a man's peace and a man wants to be a woman's rest. So, you got all these restless females and all these unpeaceful men walking around. It's it ain't good. It's not good at all. Like, I remember last night there was a full moon. I'm like, man, this is Oh, there was a lot for it. There was just so much energy. There was just so much, like, I was just like, oh, man, what's going on tonight? I looked at the moon was full. And I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe maybe they're like werewolves out here or something like that. I don't know, but like people just losing their mind these days. And you know, we gotta protect ourselves. You know, life is like a boxing match. You gotta protect yourself at all times. You know, even especially like if you're strong. You know, because like people that are perceived by others as strong, you know, they tend to get hit. You know, they tend to hit them harder because what is the underlying assumption? They're like, wow, they're strong, they can take it. No, but here's the thing. Here's the thing about when you're strong. When you're strong, you just have high resistance, but them punches still hurt. Like, them punches hurt. Like, you walk away, you just be holding everything. You're like, oh man, you know, it's like on Creed 2 when he was talking to Drago, when he was talking to Adonis about when he fought Drago, you know, he was like, that God broke things in me that ain't been fixed. You know, so man, you know, if you're strong, you have to be even more mindful about who you let around you, because people will break things inside of you that won't go fix for years. And you know, you're just wearing all this trauma. You're just wearing it well because, you know, you just have more. You're stronger. You know, you have more resistance. You know, to these blows, but they still hurt and they're still, you know, they're still affecting you. It's kind of like on Scarface when he was pumped up on cocaine. He was numb, and you know they were just shooting him. Don't get it twisted. Them bullets were working. He just didn't feel them, but they were working. You know. Anyway, I'm out, y'all. If you like this video, please share, comment, and whatever. Just if this helped you, then share it by helping somebody else.